हेलो।
है सात्याल भाई।
ये कहाँ से?
गुड गुड, चलिए शुरू करते हैं इन्वेंटरी से। सो लास्ट सेशन वी हैव सीन द बेसिक कॉन्सेप्ट्स ऑफ इन्वेंटरी. We understand mostly perpetual method of accounting versus purchase or a periodic method of accounting. Now we have to start with all mathematical calculations only today, and then the chapter will be over. I gave you this sheet, so I'm just trying to understand the workings. Can you help me to understand the first? I think you have attempted FIFO and LIFO. So, what you have
Yes.
done and what do you understand by these two methodologies?
For FIFO, the first item we buy will go first out.
Hmm.
So we bought 100 units for 10, then 200 units for 12. So we bought the 100 units for 10 first, so they will go out first, and the remaining 50 will go from the 200 for 12. Then we
Perfect.
bought 250 for 14, but we still have the $12 units, so the 150 will go from that, and the remaining 50 will go from the $14 ones. And then we bought 150 for 15, but we have to first sell out the 14 ones, so the remaining that is left is 20 units of $14 and 150 units of $15 for
चलिए, what
FIFO.
you said that makes sense. एक बार quickly working बनाते हैं. I'm just going to explain exactly जो आपने बोला. So FIFO means whatever first comes in that goes out first. So you had an opening balance. So let's say it's a January month. You had an opening balance. You brought forward 100 units, and the rate of 100 units was $10. So let's just put rate as well. So the rate was $10 per unit. Then again in the month of January, you have made a certain purchase, 200 at 12. So at this moment, what is your closing inventory? If I just say there is no sales have taken place, so your entire post transaction, entire 100 is your closing inventory at the rate of 10. So what is your total value of the closing inventory? That comes to 100 into 10. Now you have done a further purchase of 200, no sales have taken place. So what is your closing inventory? Units are 300. What is the valuation? So first 100 units are priced at $10 plus next 200 units are priced at $12. Right now no sales have taken place. So you have a closing inventory of $3,400. Now let's say in the month of January you have done a sales. Now the sales which has taken place for 150 units. Now how do you break down this particular sales? And here we are not talking about sales rate, we are talking how much will go to a cost of sales. So 150 units are sold, so what we are saying, first 100 units are going from the opening balance, next 50 units are going from the next purchase. So first 100 units they are going from the $10 pricing, and the next one are going from the $12 pricing. Now, what you are left with your inventory, you had 300 balance, you have sold out 150. So you have a closing stock of 150. Now, first 100 item, this is knocked off. So I'm just putting a word, this is knocked off, entire sold out. So you have this particular item which is lying in the stock. So what is the value of your inventory? It's 150 unit at the rate of $12 each. So your closing inventory after this transaction stands at $1,800. Now let's understand what entries goes. So this is the opening stock. So no entry for opening stock. Then you have done a certain purchases. So when you do the purchase, your entry is inventory account debited to cash $2,400 for the purchase which you have made. And we are assuming we are doing a perpetual method of accounting. When you do a sales, what is the entry? Your first entry is cost of sales account debited to inventory. At what value the cost of sales will go? So 100 units will go at 10 each, plus 50 units will go at a 12 each. So your cost of sales becomes 1600. And the third, revenue. So when you collect the cash, cash account debited to revenue. Let's just assume 150 units are sold at 25 each. So you have collected a revenue, you have collected a cash. So this is the entry which goes after the first three transactions.
How is the revenue calculated?
So I just assume you have sold 150 units at $25 each.
Okay.
Okay, now let's go to our next transaction. What is happening into our next transaction? So let's say you are done with the January month. So this is your ending reporting. So your inventory valuation at the end of January. Now when you, and this is our important figure now, you have 150 units and you have a $12 each, which is lying in the stock. Now, let's say you went into the February month and you have done a certain purchase again. This is at 250 units for $14 each. No sales are done. So, what is your inventory now? So, you have a total inventory of, let's break it down, 150, which is coming from the January closing number, and 250, which is coming from the February purchase. So, after this transaction, your ending inventory stands at $5,300. Now, again in the month of February, you have done a sales. So let's just say you are still in the month of February, you have done a sales of 200 units. Now, what we say 200 units are sold first, 150 are going from the $12 each. So let's just put 150 units are going at a $12 each, and 50 units are going from the $14 each. So you had an inventory of 400. Out of 400, 200 are sold. So what is left as an inventory? 200. This is completely knocked off. So let's just say this is knocked off. So you have all 200 units which are lying at a $14 each. So your value of inventory becomes 2,800 at the end of this particular transaction. Now, let's say you are still in the month of February, you have done more purchases at 150 unit. Sorry, I think I have to put in this column and purchase in this column. Let's say you have another units now, 150 units you have purchased at 15 each. So now what is your inventory? So this inventory definitely carries forward, and the next inventory is coming at $15 each, which is 2250. So you have now total 350 units which are in your stock, and this becomes your relevant inventory. So this is your total inventory valuation at the end of Feb. Now let's say you go in the month of March, and in the month of March you have only done a sales of 180 units. So how 180 units will go? You have an opening balance available. So entire $14 stock will get consumed. So what is your closing inventory? From 200 units, 180 are sold. So you still have a 20 units left. And still your 150 units are lying in the inventory that will carry on. So this becomes your total closing inventory at the, so this is your total closing inventory at the end of March. So units point of view, you have a 170 units which are left. Clear है, simple calculation, nothing complicated, graduation में आया हुआ है, but just wanted to give a glimpse. ठीक है, FIFO पे कोई question?
No.
ठीक है, LIFO is exactly opposite. What LIFO says, whatever last comes in, that goes out first. So in the inventory, you will have the oldest item in place. Mathematical calculation remains the same. यहाँ पर आप क्या करते हो कि पुराना इन्वेंटरी को पहले एडजस्ट करते हो. In LIFO, you do a reverse. You get out the latest inventory first, and जो stock में होगा, that would be your oldest inventory. ठीक है, एक बार आपकी बुक पे आता है, एक बार एग्जांपल नंबर 5 क्विकली गो थ्रू कर लो. कुछ क्वेश्चन है तो आप पूछ लो एक बार.
What is a periodic inventory system?
So last session, if you remember, we did two methods of accounting. Under periodic, what happens, you record everything as a purchase first, and then at the year end you go to a warehouse and you check what is there physically available. So that amount you move to inventory, remaining amount goes to the cost of goods sold. So you don't record the transactions when you are selling the goods, rather at the entire year आप पहले परचेज में सब कुछ रिकॉर्ड करते जाओगे, एंड ऑफ द ईयर में कितना आपको इन्वेंटरी का बैलेंस चाहिए वो सब्ट्रैक्ट करोगे और उसको बैलेंस शीट में मूव करोगे, विच इज योर पीरियोडिक इन्वेंटरी सिस्टम। परपेचुअल इन्वेंटरी मतलब जब भी ट्रांजैक्शन होगा परचेस का, सेल्स का, आप रियल टाइम बेसिस पे उसका अकाउंटिंग करते रहोगे।
Okay. Okay.
ठीक है, क्लियर है। FIFO मेथड स्पेसिफिकली पीरियोडिक इन्वेंटरी वाला क्लियर है, लाइक हाउ दिस 23,000 इज कैलकुलेटेड।
We are selling 4,000 units total, so they're
फाइव
just
थाउजेंड
add.
आर हैंड एंड 5,000 कौन से रहेंगे, फर्स्ट आपके 3,000 वाले रहेंगे विच इज द लेटेस्ट, एंड देन 2,000 यू फर्दर गो बैक विच इज योर सेकंड परचेस। सो दिस इज हाउ 23,000 कम्स। ठीक है, सिंपल कैलकुलेशन है, नथिंग कॉम्प्लिकेशन,
And we
चलते।
will subtract it from the total inventory to get cost of goods sold.
यस, परफेक्ट।
Okay.
चलिए नेक्स्ट पे आते हैं विच इज अ वेटेड एवरेज मेथड। आई थिंक लीफो का एग्जांपल बाद में रहेगा, उसको बाद में देखते हैं। नाउ बोथ वेटेड एवरेज मेथड की बात करो या मूविंग एवरेज की बात करो, इट्स जस्ट अ नेम दैट चेंजेस, अदरवाइज आपका मैथमेटिकल कैलकुलेशन का लॉजिक सेम है। Under weighted average method, what you do, you assume whatever purchases you are doing through the entire year, and you subtract by the total number of units you purchased and get a one weighted average rate. So for example, we are keeping the same information which we had in the last question. So first you purchase 4,000 unit, it has a value of 4.25. So this gives you an inventory of 17,000. Then you purchase 2,000 and 3,000 at respective 4.5 and 4.75. So you get 9,000 and 14,000 as your cost. So during the entire year, you purchase a $9,000 of, so 9,000 units of the goods with a 40,250 as a dollar value. So on an average, what is your cost? So we can say 40,250 divided by 9,000. So $4.47 becomes your weighted average cost per unit. So at what value you should value the inventory? So we say that whatever goods are on your hand, which are 5,000 into 4.47, which is 22,000, becomes the value of your inventory. So this is called a simple weighted average method. सिंपल कैलकुलेशन कोई क्वेश्चन है तो पूछ लो।
No.
ठीक है, नेक्स्ट है मूविंग एवरेज। सो मूविंग एवरेज में कैलकुलेशन इज अगेन रिमेनिंग द सेम, हाउएवर यहाँ पर आप एवरेज हर ट्रांजैक्शन के बाद गिनते हो। सो व्हाट वी डिड इन लास्ट एग्जांपल, वी कैलकुलेटेड अ वन सिंगल एवरेज फॉर द एंटायर ईयर। Here what you do, you calculate a average at the end of every transaction. So let's go through the example. Same facts है जो हमने previous example में देखे। First of all, you are purchasing 4,000 units of the goods, costing at 4.25, total is 17,000. Is there anything sales? No. So 4,000 becomes your average cost also. So 4,000 into 4.25, 17,000 is the value of your inventory under any method you say right now. Then you have sold out 3,000 of the goods. Now, because you don't have any other balances available, any other transactions available, so 4.25 becomes your cost, whether you go for a FIFO method, LIFO method, weighted average method. So 3,000 units are now sold out. So what is the inventory on your hand? It's a 1,000 unit at 4.25 becomes 4,250. यहाँ सब पिक्चर शुरू होता है। नाउ यू हैव परचेस्ड अ 2,000 यूनिट्स ऑफ द गुड्स। नाउ व्हाट वी आर सेइंग दैट यू हैव अ टोटल 3,000 यूनिट्स ऑन हैंड, लेकिन वैल्यूएशंस अलग अलग है। सो आउट ऑफ द 3,000, फर्स्ट 1,000 का वैल्यू है 4.25, सेकंड 2000 का वैल्यू है 4.50. सो वी जस्ट डू अ मैथमेटिकल कैलकुलेशन दैट 1000 into 4.25 plus 2000 into 4.50 whole divided by 3000. So what is the moving average or a weighted average after the end of this transaction? So now your valuation of your inventory is coming 3000 unit at $4.42. क्लियर है ये पर्टिकुलर पॉइंट? सिंपल एवरेज गिन रहा है बट एंड ऑफ द ऑल ट्रांजैक्शंस.
Uh, the average, we are multiplying the quantity with the cost, and then we're dividing by the total quantity in this
नहीं,
case.
what we are doing, so let's open Google Sheet. So what we are doing in this case, so you had a opening units, and then you have sold, and then you have a balance. So first of all, you had a 4000 units at 4.25 each. That means your opening valuation or whatever purchase was 17,000. You have no sales. So that means you had a balance of entire 4000 units at 4.25 each. And the value of your inventory was 17,000. So this was the beginning of the transaction. What happened to our next transaction? You have sold out the goods. Now 3000 are sold out. Now can I say my value of the inventory was 4.25? Whether I say FIFO, whether I say LIFO, or I say weighted average, because there are no other transactions happen till this point of time. So 3000
Yes.
units are sold off. Let's put this 3000 units are sold off. अब कुछ पूछ रहे हो?
No.
Okay, so what is the units on your hand? 1000. Now let's say if I say I'm using FIFO, I still value at 4.25. I say LIFO, I still value at 4.25. I say weighted average, I still value at 4.25. So what is the value of inventory? 4250 at the end of this junction. Yeah, that clear?
Yes.
Okay. Now what we are doing, we are purchasing a 2000 units. So let's say 2000 units are purchased at what cost? 4.50. Now if I'm saying what is the value of my inventory, so I have total 3000 units on my hand. If I'm saying FIFO, so what is the valuation under FIFO? I'll say 1000 unit at 4.25 plus 2000 unit at 4.5. So under FIFO, my valuation is 13,250. If I say under LIFO, again, right now, the mathematical calculation will be same. But what happens under the case of weighted average, which is a moving average? So what I am saying, I have a total 3000 units on the hand. So my number of units are 3000. But what is my average per unit? So what I am saying that I have a total costing of this plus total costing of this, but this entire cost I am going to divide across my 3000 units, which is my average cost. This comes to now 4.42. So what is the valuation of my inventory? 13,250. Because हमारे पास अभी एक ही transaction है, my numbers are same. But once we do couple of more sales, couple of more purchase, then this average number will keep on moving. ठीक है, यहाँ तक clear है? This is the value of the inventory at this point of time.
Yes.
चलिए, now what we are doing, we are further selling 1000 units. So what are the units on your hand now? It's 2000. Now I'll leave it to you. आप मुझे calculate करके बताओ कि what is the value of the inventory at this point of time. Weighted average हम method use कर रहे हैं. So what should be the value of my inventory?
4.416.
Exactly. Why? Because मेरे पास 3000 का stock था. This is the valuation I'm using. मैंने कोई purchase तो किया नहीं है, so my average is not going to change. I have just done a sales, so I'm going to use a same rate, and my valuation of inventory right now becomes 8833. ठीक है, यहाँ तक कोई doubt?
Okay.
Now I'm moving to a last transaction where I have purchased a unit at 4.75, and now my total closing stock on hand is 5000. और आप मुझे calculate करके बताओ what is the my weighted average cost.
4.617.
Perfect. 4.617 कैसे आया? You already had a 2000 units at this price plus 3000 units at this price. Let's do a quick math. So this is the value on your hand at this rate, plus you purchase this price at this rate, whole divided by 5000. So this should be your 4.167, and the value of your inventory is 23083. So this is how you do a moving average. So by end of every sales or every purchase, you recalculate your weighted average. Last example, you waited for the entire year purchase only as a base, and then based on the purchase you made, you calculate a single average rate. Clear है? 5.3, 5.4 दोनों example 6 और 7.
Yes.
चलिए, नेक्स्ट इज अ लीफो मेथड. सो लीफो मेथड की लीफो लेयर की थियरी पे मैं नहीं जा रहा हूँ अभी, बिकॉज इट्स अ इंग्लिश विच इज डिफिकल्ट टू अंडरस्टैंड राइट नाउ. बट पहले बेसिक कैलकुलेशंस करते हैं, उसके बाद हम लीफो लेयर के कॉन्सेप्ट पे जाते हैं. तो एग्जांपल 8 आप एक बार देख लो. आई थिंक यू शुड बी एबल टू सॉल्व. इफ नॉट, मैं आपको हेल्प करता हूँ फिर.
Why is the inventory balance different and ending inventory different?
सॉरी, कहाँ पर, विच पॉइंट यू आर टॉकिंग? योर इन्वेंटरी बैलेंस इज, आपका क्या था लास्ट एग्जांपल में? यू हैड हाउ मेनी यूनिट्स यू
No,
परचेज?
in periodic and in perpetual, in periodic, if it's 21,500 ending inventory, in perpetual inventory balance is saying 23,000.
एक बार कैलकुलेट करते हैं, लेट्स सी. सो अंडर पीरियोडिक इन्वेंटरी आप क्या कर रहे हो? यू परचेज द entire goods during the year, and let's say you purchase 4,000, 2,006, and 3 9,000, and then you had the cost per unit available and how many units you are selling. So 4 और 2 6 3 9 में से आप 4,000 बेच रहे हो, which means you have a 5,000 units left. 5,000 units left. अब लास्ट इन फर्स्ट आउट, जो लास्ट में आया था वो पहले गया होगा. सो 4,000 जो बिका है उसमें से 3,000 ये वाला चला गया. नाउ व्हाट इज लेफ्ट? 1,000 यूनिट्स आर लेफ्ट फ्रॉम हियर, एंड रिमेनिंग 4,2,6,3,9. 9 में से 4 गया तो 5,000 आपका इन्वेंट्री है. 5 में से एक यहाँ पे बचा और 4,000 आर बैलेंस फ्रॉम द ओपनिंग आइटम. सो यार एंडिंग इन्वेंट्री का फॉर्मूला कैसे होगा? 1,000 यूनिट्स इंटू 4.5 plus remaining 4,000 into 4.25. So this total should be your ending inventory under the LIFO method, क्योंकि आप लास्ट इन फर्स्ट आउट कर रहे हो. अब परपेचुअल देखते हैं. आई थिंक आई टेल यू द आंसर कि क्यों ऐसा हो रहा है. परपेचुअल में क्या हो रहा है कि यू परचेस 4,000, उसके बाद आपने 3,000 जब सेल किया, so this 3,000 right now will go from the $4.25 balance only, because at this junction you had no other inventories available for the purchase. तो आपके पास 4,000 units थे which were having a value of 4.25, and the cost of goods sold will represent this units only. Now you have a balance of 1,000 unit, and 1,000 unit का valuation होगा 4.25 पे. Then you have a purchase of another 2,000 units. अब आपने जो इसके बाद का सेल्स किया 1,000 यूनिट का, this will go out from this 2,000 units only. So what is the value of inventory at this point of time? So you have a 1,000 units at 4.5, plus another 1000 unit at 4.25. So that becomes the value of your inventory. उसके बाद आपने 3000 units purchase किए at 4.75. So what is your total ending inventory? It's 1000 into 4.25 plus 1000 into 4.5 plus 3000 into 4.75. To answer your question कि दोनों के values अलग अलग क्यों है, इन पीरियोडिक इन्वेंट्री आप पूरे साल वेट करते हो एंड देन यू प्रिपेयर योर कॉस्ट ऑफ गुड्स सोल्ड एंड एंडिंग इन्वेंट्री. So whatever sales you have done for 4000 units, you are reducing from the latest purchase first. So even though these 3000 units, let's say, are sold in the month of January, these are subtracted from the December purchases because you are using a LIFO method and you are waiting for the entire year to get down. So that is why in this particular example here, the value of the cost of goods sold is 4.25, whereas under the periodic inventory system, your cost of goods sold are calculated at 4.75, and hence you have a different valuation for both the methods.
Okay.
ठीक है, एक बार फटाफट ऑडिट कर लो आंसर, इसके बाद एक छोटा सा कॉन्सेप्ट है डॉलर वैल्यू लिफो, उस पर बात करते हैं एंड देन हम थियरी पे आते हैं.
Done.
चलिए अब डॉलर वैल्यू लीफो पे चलते हैं. दिस इज अ स्मॉल कॉन्सेप्ट. नाउ लॉजिक कुछ भी नहीं है. दिस इज अ मोर लाइक अ स्टैट्यूटरी रिक्वायरमेंट. जनरली आप कहीं भी अकाउंटिंग स्टैंडर्ड्स में जाओगे तो लीफो वैल्यू इज द लीस्ट प्रेफरेबल मेथड बिकॉज इट डजंट रिप्रेजेंट कि आपके पास जो पहले गुड्स आया था आप उनको सेल नहीं कर रहे हो एंड यू आर सेलिंग द लेटेस्ट आइटम, which generally doesn't make a sense. So sometimes what happens in a hyperinflationary economy, for example, in the beginning of the year when you purchased a goods at a $10, at the end of the year it's, let's say, $100. So price has jumped by 10x. And that is the case where your FIFO versus LIFO method gives a huge variance. And now in order to overcome, the IRS in US have issued a dollar value LIFO mechanism. Now ये method आपको IFRS में नहीं देखने को मिलेगी, neither Ind AS और UK GAAP कहीं पर भी नहीं देखने को मिलेगी. This is only specifically given under the US GAAP. And again इसका logic कोई नहीं है, but what they are saying basically to revalue your LIFO at a CPI index. So for example, government is saying, okay, we are understanding the fact that your $10 stock at the beginning year has become to $100, and because of this what will happen, you will have a more cost of goods sold and your profits will be lower. Profits will be lower means you will be paying up lower taxes. Now in order to overcome this problem, what government has said that you guys start using a dollar value LIFO. What is a dollar value LIFO? It means you revalue your value of the inventory based on the price index. Now, ये बहुत complicated है. If you literally go through this example, I am giving you a 2 steps, and these 2 steps will always help you to solve the problem. Always, step number 1, you have to calculate a ratio of the price index. So let's go through the example simultaneously ताकि mathematics रहेगा तो easy to understand होगा. So Brook Company has adopted a dollar value LIFO inventory on 1st January year 1. Single inventory pool and internally computed price index are used to calculate a Brooks LIFO inventory layers. Now, what are the information given? On 1st January year 1, you had an inventory which has a base cost of 40,000. उसका current year का cost भी है 40,000 because this inventory was purchased way back and उसका pricing, let's say, $1 each था for 40,000 units. So you have a 40,000 cost which you are carrying right now. हमारा question है कि हमें dollar value LIFO की inventory calculate करनी है. What we are going to do, number 1, next point in the question, during the year 1 आपने 5,000 का नया inventory purchase किया which is still in your inventory. अब अगर आपने उसको ईयर एंड तक वेट किया तो उसका जो करंट कॉस्ट था वो हो चुका था $14,000, विच इज द करंट ईयर कॉस्ट. नाउ व्हाट इज द प्रॉब्लम टू अ गवर्नमेंट कि आपका टेक्निकली इन्वेंट्री होता 45,000. अगर आप नॉर्मल कॉस्ट प्रिंसिपल्स पे चलते हैं, अभी आप रिपोर्ट कर रहे हो 54,000. Your higher ending inventory means next year you will have a higher cost of goods sold and you will be underpaying the taxes. So what government says कि आप dollar value LIFO use करो, सीधा LIFO use मत करो. So what is the steps to calculate dollar value LIFO? Step.
Uh, how is the if we are buying inventory at the start, why is it being more expensive later on in next year?
So for example, there is an inflation. आज आप एक पेन लेने जा रहे हो मार्केट में, इट्स $1, but let's say there is a war, huge war, अब वही पेन आपको $15 की मिल रही है.
But LIFO won't that go first out?
LIFO will go, so that what will happen, that amount will go to cost of goods sold. So cost of goods sold will go up, that means your profits will go down. Profits goes down, which means you are paying a lower taxes. मैं आपको लॉजिक बता रहा हूँ. राइट नाउ दिस इज द इन्वेंट्री ऑन योर हैंड. अगर आप उसको बेस ईयर के कॉस्ट से ही मल्टीप्लाई करते हैं, so you purchased another 5,000 units of the pen. If you would be following the cost principles, not the LIFO principles, then your cost would have been somewhere around $5,000 at a base year price. But right now, because of the hyperinflation, you are valuing this $5,000 at a $14,000, which means you have a higher cost. Higher cost means you will have a lower profits, you will be paying a lower taxes. So that is why what government is saying, start using a dollar value LIFO. And as I said again, it's only US GAAP specific. This method is nowhere under Ind AS, IFRS, UK GAAP. So it's just internally AICPA, IRS developed the accounting method. And generally it is only used अगर आप regulation में जाओगे, tax subject में जाओगे, dollar value LIFO is mandatory अगर आपने accounting में भी वो method use की है. So when you file the tax returns, you cannot change the method of your inventory because आप accounting profit अलग नहीं बता सकते हो versus book profit if you are using this dollar value LIFO. ठीक है, I understand there will be a lot of logic question, लेकिन इसका कोई as such logic नहीं है कि why, what is happening exactly here. It's basically government is trying to protect their taxes, so they are trying to make sure that you lower down your inventory. So tomorrow when it goes to a cost of goods sold, they will have a higher profits and higher tax collections. Okay, so now what is happening at the end of year one? You had an opening inventory of 40,000. You added 5,000 units more. अगर आप इसको base cost पे add करते हैं, your value of inventory would have been $45,000. Right now it's $54,000. So to solve this type of problem, only two steps you have to follow. Don't look at the book otherwise. Step number one, calculate a price index. It means what is the ratio of the cost. So 54,000 divided by 45,000, basically a CPI of year one divided by CPI of year zero, a basic economics formula. So 54,000 divided by 45,000, your ratio is 6:5. So what basically government is saying that 5,000 is your base year cost, but general trend is saying that your inflation has increased in the ratio of 6:5. So this 5,000 can be increased only to the extent 6,000 because of the inflation and not 14,000. So now your revised inventory becomes opening balance of 40,000 plus purchase at a current year CPI adjusted price 6,000, which means 46,000. So the value of your inventory is not 54,000, but the value of your inventory is now 46,000. एक और point, then I'll take the questions if you have. So this 6,000, the adjustment which we have done, this is called a dollar value layer addition. So when we go to a theoretical points, there is a one section which is called what is a layer added. Now if I explain you directly, आपको पता नहीं चलेगा what I am speaking. So it's important to understand the practical. So what we are saying, 5,000 is a base year cost. It is converted at a $6,000 assuming a CPI index. So this is called a LIFO layer which is added, and now your total cost is 46,000. So 6,000 का मतलब होता है LIFO layer. अगर आपको example MCQ में कुछ भी आ जाता है and they ask this type of table, what is the LIFO layer. So your answer is LIFO layer is $6,000. नाउ सेम कॉन्सेप्ट को आगे कैरी करते हैं ईयर टू में. सो व्हाट इज हैपनिंग इन ईयर टू? आपका बेस ईयर के प्राइसिंग के हिसाब से कॉस्ट है 45,000. फिर आपने कुछ यूनिट्स परचेस की है जिसका बेस ईयर के हिसाब से कॉस्टिंग हो रहा था 15,000, तो आपका इन्वेंट्री होना चाहिए था 60,000. हो क्या रहा है? नाउ यू हैव अ प्राइसिंग ऑफ 54,000 व्हिच इज एक्चुअली आउट ऑफ पॉकेट एक्सपेंस, प्लस आपने इन्वेंट्री को ऐड किया व्हिच इज अ वर्थ ऑफ 26,000. तो आपका करंट ईयर का जो एक्चुअल आउटफ्लो है दैट इज 80,000. Now, what is the step? Number one, calculate CPI. What is the CPI? Year one divided by year zero. So 80,000 divided by 60,000, which is 4:3. So maximum of 4:3 के रेशियो में आपका लेयर ऐड कर सकते हो. So what is the current year purchase? $15,000. इसको maximum आप 3:4 के रेशियो में एडजस्ट कर सकते हो. So if you apply the formula, 15,000 can be maximum upgraded to $20,000. So now your value of your inventory is not 80,000, but it's 46,000 plus 20,000, which is 66,000. 20,000 को हम क्या बोलेंगे? A layer added because of the dollar value LIFO. Again to summarize, इसके बाद का एग्जांपल मैं आपको प्रैक्टिस के लिए दे रहा हूँ. स्टेप नंबर 1, हमेशा कैलकुलेट करो आपकी करंट ईयर कॉस्ट डिवाइडेड बाय योर बेस ईयर कॉस्ट. यू गेट अ 1 रेशियो. वो रेशियो को मल्टीप्लाई करो करंट ईयर के कॉस्ट पे. सो दैट इज द मैक्सिमम इन्फ्लेशन एडजस्टेड अमाउंट व्हिच यू कैन कैरी एज अ इन्वेंटरी अंडर डॉलर वैल्यू LIFO. इसका दूसरा नाम है लेयर एडेड फॉर अ डॉलर वैल्यू LIFO. तो फर्स्ट स्टेप ईयर 1 में हमने क्या किया? 54,000 डिवाइडेड बाय 45,000, रेशियो ऑफ 6:5. इसको हमने मल्टीप्लाई किया विद 5,000. सो 5,000 कैन मैक्सिमम बिकम अ 6,000. ईयर 2 में हमने क्या किया? 80,000 डिवाइडेड बाय 60,000, रेशियो इज 4:3. इसको हमने मल्टीप्लाई किया 15,000 से. तो 15,000 कैन बिकम मैक्सिमम 20,000 अंडर द इन्फ्लेशन प्रिंसिपल. यू कैन नॉट कैरी इन्वेंट्री एट अ $26,000. ये सिर्फ मैथमेटिक्स है, इसका कोई हाथ पैर नहीं है. व्हाई वी आर डूइंग दिस? क्यों करते हैं? एज अ प्रैक्टिकल लाइफ मैंने किसी को करते नहीं देखा है, एंड आई ऑल्सो डोंट हैव एनी लॉजिक और रीजन कि ये क्यों करना चाहिए हमें.
मुझे इसकी मूवमेंट समझ नहीं आ रही. सो लेट्स से वी हैव 1000 units at $1 at the start of the year, and at the
हम्म.
at the end of the year we buy 1000 units for $10.
हम्म.
So that 1000 units for $10 will be used first. So we will have more of the 1000 units for $1 left. So isn't our cost of goods sold lesser since we have 1000 units for $1 left in the next year?
अगर आपकी इन्वेंटरी में बचा है तो नेक्स्ट ईयर आपकी कॉस्ट ऑफ गुड्स सोल्ड कम हो जाएगी. अगर इस साल आपने बेच दिया है तो इस साल आपकी कॉस्ट ऑफ गुड्स सोल्ड कम हो जाएगी. सो आइदर वे कॉस्ट ऑफ गुड्स सोल्ड आपकी कम हो रही है, सॉरी कॉस्ट ऑफ गुड्स सोल्ड आपकी इंक्रीज हो रही है. देयर इज नो वे इट कैन गो डाउन इफ यू
How
आर
is it
यूजिंग.
increasing?
आप बताओ कि LIFO मेथड इन्फ्लेशन में क्या होगा? लास्ट इन फर्स्ट आउट. तो फॉर एग्जांपल आपने एक यूनिट परचेस किया लेट्स से जनवरी मंथ में, दिस इज $1,000 एट 1 ईच, कॉस्टिंग इज $1,000. दिसंबर में आपने परचेस किया लेट्स से 3,000 यूनिट एट 15 ईच, इसका प्राइस बहुत ज्यादा बढ़ गया, इट्स 45,000. अब अगर आपने मान लो कि सेल्स आउट किया है दिसंबर में लेट्स अश्यूम 1,500 यूनिट्स, अगर फीफो होगा तो व्हाट इज द कॉस्ट ऑफ गुड्स सोल्ड? सो अवील से कि फर्स्ट 1,000 जो है वो 1 में से जाएंगे, प्लस नेक्स्ट 500 जो है वो 15 में से जाएंगे. So your cost of goods sold is 8,500. What is under LIFO cost of goods sold? आपने 1,500 बेचे हैं, you have a inventory of 3,000 complete. तो 1,500 into 15 पूरे पूरे जाएंगे, the cost of goods sold is 22,500. So हमेशा जब hyper inflation होता है under LIFO, your cost of goods sold is higher, higher and higher only.
Okay. And at base year cost, they mean that we have a cost from the start and we'll just use the same cost throughout the whole year.
Same cost you should have used.
At
However, you can adjust for the CPI inflation only, not actual inflation. So for example, आपने out of pocket में एक पेन जो है वो let's say in this example itself, आपने next 3,000 यूनिट्स को 15 में परचेस किया. इट्स एक्चुअल इन्फ्लेशन, आपको वेंडर ने 15 में ही दिया, बट गवर्नमेंट इज सेइंग कि आपका इन्फ्लेशन बढ़ बढ़ के लेट से 1 का 5 हो सकता है. So you cannot keep this inventory more than at $15,000 for cost of goods sold purposes. So this is called a dollar value LIFO. कोई use नहीं करता है. Why somebody would like to do all this information? Plus इसका एक बहुत बड़ा disadvantage ये है कि you have to maintain a perpetual records. So for example, this is year one, this is year two. Suppose you are in the business for last 5 years. So you cannot calculate all the year one, year two, year three, year four, year five layers and keep on doing the accounting for the layer adjustments. So practical life में nobody uses. More exam point of view topic अगर आपको calculation करना पूछता है, follow the two steps, get the value of the inventory and get the layer to be added, and that is it. आपको ये life में कभी use नहीं आएगा बाद में.
And how is the layer added? You said the first layer and then it's the second layer. How are we deciding it's first or second?
I'm giving you example. For example, आपका ये inventory है 40,000 का. Now let's say your business is not growing at that pace. मान लो आप year 4 पे आ चुके हो, you still have a inventory from year 1. So can I say आपको 4 साल का inflation लगेगा year 1, year 2, year 3, year 4. What we have done in year 2, see in this example, year 2 में हमने we have not done 26 by 15. What we have done 80 divided by 60. It means it's a cumulative balance. Can I say this 60 includes some part of 40 if it is unsold?
Yes.
So maybe if let's say you are in year 5 and you have not sold year 1 inventory, then you will have a base year cost a lot lower and current year cost not higher. It's a lot of complication in practical life, and it's a day-to-day inventory movement with the SAP Oracle kind of ERP. So nobody does this annual dollar value LIFO adjustments.
So the number of the years is the number of layers?
Yes, number of the years is number of layers. Every year you will add a layer for the inflation adjustments.
Okay.
ठीक है, एक बार एग्जांपल 10 देख लो. अगेन इट्स अ सिंपल मैथमेटिकल एग्जांपल फॉर डॉलर वैल्यू लिफो. मैंने जो बोला वही फॉलो करना. डोंट लुक एट सोल्यूशन. स्टेप 1, रेशियो निकालो सीपीआई इंडेक्स का. स्टेप 2, करंट ईयर की परचेस पे उसको अप्लाई करो एंड चीज खत्म हो गई, आपका आंसर मैच कर जाएगा.
I will multiply the index with what amount?
With the current year purchase. So let's say in this example, you have a base cost of 500K and ending cost of 525. So can I say 25,000 would have been the purchase at a base year cost? Let's see यहाँ पर example में you had an opening of 40 and the closing of 45. It means you would have done a 5,000 unit at a base year cost, which is 5,000, or at a current year you have a 40,000 opening, closing of 54. It means the addition to the current year would be 14,000 as a balancing figure. So आपको ये example में opening closing numbers दिए हैं. Your opening at a base year cost is 5 lakh. Closing at a base year cost is 25,000. So let's put the numbers in our sheet. So let's say you have a base year and you have a current year, and let's just say a dollar value. So base year 1 beginning, you have a 5 lakh. Year 1 closing, you have a 5 lakh 25,000. That means the additions to the year 1 is 25,000. Now, first of all, I need to calculate the ratio. So I also need the current year cost. So what is the current year cost? This is a 5 lakh. And then I have a 577, 500. That means I would have a current year cost of 77, 500. So my first step is to calculate the ratio out. So how I'm going to calculate the ratio? It's my 577, which is my first year cost divided by my base year cost. So
1.1.
my ratio becomes 1.1. So this is my step number one. What is my step number two? Multiply this with the base year of the addition. So maximum dollar value you can carry, it's 27,500. So what is the dollar value inventory? Opening balance plus dollar value LIFO adjustment. This is called a layer added. So what is your total? Sorry, what is the total? It's 5,27,500. So let's just match your value. It's 527,500. Layer added 27,500.
Okay.
ठीक है, I think this ends your inventory. एक छोटा सा topic है gross profit method. Now, I don't think so I need to tell you. It's very simple. So what this particular topic says that, yeah, this is your typical income statement format. If you remember your FAR 1, you start with revenue and you have a cost of sales and then you get a gross profit margin. Now, let's say you have a revenue of $100 and let's say your cost of goods sold are 20. So your 80 is your gross profit. Or I can say 80% is your gross profit, or I can say 20% is the cost of goods sold. So sometimes it may happen that you are in a such industry where it is impossible to measure the quantity of the units. Now, let's say, for example, you are running a supermarket and day to day you have, let's say, loose units of oil, or let's say wheat or rice, and it is practically impossible to calculate the per unit and then go for a FIFO LIFO weighted average. So what is alternative method? Again, in the US gap, generally I have not seen under IFRS or UK Indian gap. It's you calculate your normal margin percentages and then back calculate what should be your cost of goods sold, and then back calculate what should be the value of your inventory. So hypothetically, let's say I'm running a one supermarket, and under a supermarket I have ordered, let's say I have a beginning balance, and then let's say I have ordered something. So let's take an example of oil. I have a beginning balance of $1 lakh of oil. During the year I ordered another $7 lakh of the oil, and now I don't know what is the my closing stock. So this is my goods available for sale, which were total $8 lakh. Now I don't know how much I have sold during the year. What is my cost of sales? I have no idea. But I know that from the last 5 years in the oil segment of my company, I'm making 80% of the gross profit or 20% of my cost of sales. And let's say I have done throughout the year, I have done a sales of, let's say hypothetically, $6 lakh of oil I have sold. So I have a machinery QR code, customers are buying, and I know oil sold during the year was 6 lakh. Now I know that what is my cost of goods sold out of this, it's 20%. So my cost of goods sold should be 20%. So I can say that out of the cost of goods sold, out of cost of goods available for sale of 8 lakh, I have actually sold a goods worth 1,20,000. So my ending inventory should have a value of somewhere around 6,80,000. Now this is called a gross profit methodology. आपको एग्जाम में क्या दे दिया जाएगा? What is your beginning inventory? How much you have purchased? So that means beginning plus purchase means what is the goods available for sale minus what is the profit margin normally on your inventory. So you will back calculate your cost of sales, and then the result will be ending inventory. So you are not calculating a units and then multiply with rate per unit as per FIFO LIFO weighted average. Rather, you calculate a one general profit margin percentage, and based on the margin percentages, you calculate the value of your inventory. एक बार एग्जांपल देख लो 11, कोई भी क्वेश्चन है तो एक बार पूछ लो.
Okay.
ठीक है, आते हैं नेक्स्ट वाले टॉपिक पे। एक बार फॉर्म परचेस कमिटमेंट्स। सबसे पहले एक बार एग्जांपल खुद ट्राई करो, इफ नॉट देन आई विल हेल्प यू। सो बेसिकली फॉर्म परचेस कमिटमेंट क्या होती है? वेर यू commit somebody that you are going to purchase this many quantity at this rate from you on a specified date. So it's kind of a legal purchase order. You have not done the actual purchase, but you have committed that person, which is a legal commitment that you are going to purchase something. Now, what can happen? For example, you are in the industry of a pen. Now, you have said that I am going to purchase a 1000 units of the pen at $1 from you after 1 month. Now, suppose the price of the pen goes down to zero point 0.3 per unit, but you have a commitment in the market to purchase still at a $1. It's a legal commitment, so you have to honor it. You cannot breach the contract. So whatever is the loss you have on the contract, that you are going to recognize today. Again, a concept of the accrual, a liability where future expected losses are recorded now, future expected gains are deferred for the future. So what example is saying? So J&S Incorporation, they signed a timber cutting contract on year one to be executed for $5 million. So you have a firm commitment legal contract that you will pay $5 million, whatever will happen, they don't care. Now in year two, the market price of the rights at the end of the year, it's 4 million. So now in the market, when you have to honor this contract, actually the market rate is only 4 million. But because you have signed a contract, you don't have a choice, but you have to pay a 5 million for this particular item. And you expect that you will have a loss of 1 million in future. So loss has not occurred yet because the contract will be executed in year two. But at the end of year one, you know that you will incur a 1 million of loss based on the market condition. So today you create a liability, today you will create a accrual. So what is the journal entry for it? So loss account debited to provision for loss $1 million. Again, a very, very
What's
small topic. Okay? Any
what's a
question?
provision for loss account?
So it's a kind of your liability. So basically what is happening right now कि आप एक चीज के लिए फ्यूचर में ज्यादा पे करने वाले हो. So what is the entry is going to happen for this particular case? So at year one, you have a commitment that you will pay something at 5 million in year two. You have not done actual expense yet. So generally on day one, there is no entry. Now let's say when there is a reporting date on day 365, which is a balance sheet date, you anticipate that there will be a 1 million of loss in future. So your entry is loss account debited. This is your P&L account to liability account, and name you can give anything. Provision for loss, provision for contingent loss, provision for liability. Any name you can give, you will have a loss of $1 million. I think 10 I have less put. Yeah. So 1 million loss you will have. Now let's say in year two, what will happen? You will go in the market actually with your vendor. And when you go with your vendor, you are going to have a purchase. So let's say a expense account debited 5 million to your liability account debited 5 million. And at this time, you are going to reverse the entry which you have recorded here in year one. So second entry will be liability account debited 1 million to loss account 1 million. So basically what we have done, we have recorded a 1 million of loss in year one. If you see the income statement, how income statement will look like. So income statement for year one and year two. So income statement will show that loss under year one is 1 million. However, the expense under year two is only 4 million. How 4 million? You will have a debit of 5 million minus you have a credit of 1 million. So net expense in year two is 4 million. So even though in year two you have done actual cash outflow of 5 million, you still recognize expense of 4 million only. The 1 million is recorded now. Why? Because it's accounting principle, which is accrual, which says that if you anticipate any loss in future, don't wait for the future, record the loss today. So we recorded a loss of 1 million in year one, even though my cash loss did not take place.
For gain, if it was a gain, we will record it in the future, not
Yes,
now.
for the gain we will wait for the actual gain to realize.
Okay.
All right, so this ends your valuation for your inventory, a small topic. So we'll come back now tomorrow and we'll finish 2 days for PP&D, and Friday we will take up your all doubts till FAR 4 you have. Sorry, FAR
Mm,
3, right? We are still in FAR 3. So we'll take all doubts till FAR 3.
okay.
All right, thank you.